Hi everyone, it's Will. Now, most people can grow up wondering if they are intelligent, but not too many people are taught to ask themselves, how am I intelligent? And that question can be incredibly helpful. It comes from a theory created by Howard Gardner, which is the theory of multiple intelligences. It doesn't just look at intelligence as being one thing, it can show up in different ways for different people. And what often gets in our way isn't necessarily our ability, it's the beliefs that we've developed about what intelligence is supposed to look like. And over time, those beliefs start to shape how we see ourselves, how we see what it is that we're good at, and what we believe is even possible for us. And throughout today's video, you're going to identify some common experiences or struggles that might be creating that uncertainty for you around your beliefs and walk away with a clear next step to start embracing that uncertainty and owning it rather than feeling like you should be doing something else. And I first heard this idea around intelligences in the Kindling program. And before we get into this idea further, if you are looking for a supportive community around career, relationships, and personal growth, feel free to check out the Grow and Thrive with Mentor Pete school community in the description below. And as someone who's 24 years old and has gone through the program myself and is now working with the organization, it has definitely been incredibly helpful for me as I navigate the uncertainties of my 20s. But now let's go back to the concept. So remember that, school can often emphasize linguistic and logical intelligence the most. But we also have to remember that there are different types. There can be spatial, there can be musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, kinesthetic, and naturalistic that can sometimes go unnoticed. And once you realize that, we can start to ask ourselves, how am I intelligent, as opposed to saying, am I intelligent? And that's when things can really change. And this is one of the few ideas that we are going to discuss today that was a part of the beliefs chapter of the Kindling program. Now, another idea that stood out from the conversation was the idea of certain beliefs that are projected onto you based on other people's experiences or expectations. So if you're nearing graduation, you might have been faced with the question, so what are you going to do the rest of your life? So let's take a quick look inside of the Kindling program to see why that is a flawed question.
Which is, so what are you going to do the rest of your life? How many people have heard that about 1,000 times growing up, right? What do you think that means or sets up for you?
I think it's just too broad. Maybe a small flaw, but there's just too many different pieces to think about. There's relationships, there's career, there's like the whole kind of what's your goal in life piece of it. So
yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
I think for me, it's like limiting because I have so many different things that like I'm interested in and like I'm not sure yet. I think when they ask me what do I want to do, I'm like, oh, I have to have one thing that I'm like set on that I have to like chase after, and it kind of like limits me in that way.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was getting at. It's like, really? You're going to do one thing the rest of your life? You have pressure to begin with, right? Like we just said, the world that you're living in, moving fast, crazy changes to technology, to society, algorithms, outsourcing, things moving and changing so fast. I think, so what are you going to do the rest of your life sets up the notion of, I need to get perfect grades, to go to the perfect school, to get a perfect first job. And that can really be a very unhealthy mindset to live through life. So my feeling is, in the future, when somebody asks you that, hopefully you'll feel like saying, actually many things. And right now, I'm really fascinated by being an entrepreneur or social justice or music or whatever. Who knows?
Now, as Peter mentions throughout, this type of question is very limited. It sets up the notion that you need to have perfect grades, the perfect job, and everything else that needs to be perfect. And the participants around the room also mentioned that it was too broad of a question to be asking someone. And to further emphasize the point that you don't need to have everything figured out, if we look at people in our history, Colonel Sanders, he started KFC at 65 after years of failing as, I think, a lawyer, gas station owner, and a salesman. Ray Kroc scaled McDonald's at 52. Ariana Huffington founded the Huffington Post at 55. Samuel L. Jackson had breakout fame in his 40s and his 50s. So as I've had the chance to reflect on this question further and to see these examples of these individuals who achieved success later on in their life and in their career, I've been able to discover why this is a flawed question to be asked further. So when someone asks you what you're going to do for the rest of your life, it assumes that your success is going to be linear. It assumes that you will start in one place and continue on a single path, advancing without taking any other paths along the way. Now, in the Kindling program, Peter creates a visual showing the perception of success as a straight line, and then he contrasts it with the reality by drawing a line with curves and loops to highlight that there are ups and downs along the way. But it also assumes that you are going to figure things out in theory, when in reality, you typically figure things out by getting feedback, by trying things, and by adjusting. Someone who's 18 might not have much experience yet. In this moment, if they're being asked this question, they're expected to make a decision without going through the trial and error or the discovery process. Now, speaking from my own experience, when I graduated college, I was certified with a company to administer the DISC personality assessment to different organizations to help them better understand their different employees and their different personality styles. And if I hadn't had that experience, I probably would have never developed the idea for my own business, because I was having so many different conversations with people in different industries that were sharing about the struggles that they were having with the younger workforce, which gave me the idea for the Next Gen Playbook. But also, if I had never done that work with the DISC personality assessment, I would have never gone down to Princeton, New Jersey to present and then ultimately stick around to hear Peter Russell, the founder of Kindling, describe the program. And all of these experiences happened because of trial and error, by meeting people, by getting out of the door. Whereas a lot of the times I think that projection about what are you going to do for the rest of your life forces you to try and create it through theory. So I think it's really important for young adults to be able to understand that a lot of this will be discovered throughout time. And I know for myself that the work that I'm doing today, none of it I could have said I'm going to get into this when I was graduating college or graduating high school. It just took time to be immersed in the work that I'm doing to have these little paths that I've discovered. So if you're a young adult who feels uncertain about what path you want to take and feel insecure about that too, just know that the more experience that you accumulate, the more you are going to figure that out. And I know I shared a very brief version of the conversation from the beliefs chapter today, but again, if you are a young adult who is looking to land that job, build stronger relationships, improve your well-being, and be a part of a supportive community navigating the uncertainties of your 20s, check out the Grow and Thrive with Mentor Pete school community built around the Kindling program. It's a space to learn, to grow, and connect with others who are navigating a similar journey that you are. More information is in the description below, but thanks everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.